Story 1. Invest it and live off the interest. I wouldn't live like a millionaire, but I would never have to work again. Story 2. Retire. If my wife and daughter cannot know, then I will pretend that I have another job. This allows me to work from home most of the time, but it sometimes requires me to travel within the country and internationally for meetings. Story 3. Pay off all debts quietly. Sleep well at night even though my rent is high. No one would know that I have a significant savings. Story 4. Pay any taxes on it and pay off every debt I have. Save the rest and continue living life as I do now, but without any stress about finances. Story 5. If no one can know, then that also means the tax authorities will never know. I would do things that weren't immediately obvious to anyone watching, such as paying off the mortgage, maximizing registered retirement savings plans and tax-free savings accounts, and investing. Maybe I would take a 5-star vacation without telling anyone where we went. Story 6. Move all my money into a trust. Set up a high-yield savings account and live off the interest in another country. Take as many cruises as possible. Buy a farm. Story 7. Are we talking about cash in my bed, in my bank account, or a check in the mail? Either way, I guess I will call in sick and go out for a nice breakfast with some great pancakes. Story 8. I'm not sure it would be possible for no one to know. Unless you get the entire amount in cash, you will inevitably face issues with tax laws or anti-money laundering measures. These are designed to make this scenario nearly impossible to hide or manage. Unless you have access to a good lawyer, I'm pretty sure you'll end up either in prison or forced to do what Walter White did and keep everything in a storage locker. Story 9. Build a portfolio of investments for my wife and children to be disclosed upon my death. Hire an attorney to draft a will and an accountant to manage taxes and expenses. Pay off all debts and set up a high-yield savings account with 1 million. Transfer interest to checking once a year. Continue my teaching job as I enjoy it and stop worrying about the details. Story 10. Do I have it lying as cash in my home or in my bank account? Both cases depend on whether the tax authorities will catch me. Story 11. The only way for no one to know is if it was all cash, but it would be extremely hard to suddenly hide that much cash. If it was in your bank account, the banker would know, and I'm guessing the Internal Revenue Service would notice too. So, the first course of action would be to find a place to hide it all without anyone seeing you. Story 12. Disappear. New state, new car, new address. This isn't to evade taxes but to ensure safety. Here's why. Story 13. Pay off all existing debts, including those of my fiancé. Then determine the next smart moves. Story 14. Like no one in my family or in the world, I would upgrade my golf set and get a membership at the best course in town. I would invest the rest and live off the interest. Story 15. Pay off a few bills, go on vacation for a week, come back home, and look for a house on some property. I would still keep my job. I would just buy a few simple things, nothing extraordinary. Story 16. Continue working as usual but start expressing the thoughts that every employee has about their manager and company, but is too afraid to voice for fear of losing their job. I would likely turn this into a sport at multiple workplaces and comfortably live off the interest of my $10 million while observing employee uprisings unfold beneath my scheming fingers. Story 17. Help a few people who are good to me, assist some deserving individuals, purchase income-generating properties such as Airbnb rentals or long-term rentals, invest a substantial amount, and live the rest of my life with at least $1 million in my bank account to be a true millionaire, allowing my income-producing assets to cover my bills. Story 18. I always told myself that if I won the lottery, the very first thing I would do is go to Taco Bell and indulge in all my favorite premium items. I figured it is my happy, affordable comfort food from when I was less fortunate, so I would want to honor where I came from. Story 19. I work remotely, so the first thing I would do is quietly submit my resignation, giving a proper 2 weeks' notice. During that time, I would probably spend most of my day online shopping. After the 2 weeks are up, I would continue getting up every morning so my partner doesn't suspect I've quit. I would pretend to be working, but in reality, I would be scrolling through Reddit or planning my next vacation. Story 20. Pay off debts. Then create either a midlife crisis or a serious health issue as a sufficient cover to say I'm going to do all the things I want before I'm gone. Story 21. Get a safe deposit box, preferably a large one, and place it inside, or obtain a few and distribute them. This way, no one will be aware of it and you can access funds as needed. Additionally, since you need to conceal it, I recommend exploring effective ways to obscure the source of your funds. Story 22. No one can know. It will be difficult. Is this rule in effect forever? What happens if someone finds out? Is this cash or in an account? If your accounts are all joint, then someone will know pretty quickly, even if it's not. That amount appearing might set off alarms at the bank. If it's cash, good luck trying to hide that unless you are a hermit and live alone. Story 23. Immediately save $3 million in an account where only my signature allows the money to be moved. Invest $5 million in various promising investments. Use $2 million to pay off debt, buy a house, and acquire the comforts I have always wanted. It's that simple. Story 24. My first thought was to treat myself to an overpriced specialty coffee, confidently show up to work late, reluctantly spend the day working while constantly telling myself, I don't need this job. But that's also how I act 5 days a week now, so no one would notice. Story 25. Spend $1. I don't have 10 million anymore. After that, I need to figure out how to secure the money. Story 26. Give it away because I'm a hustler and will find my own way. Don't wish for an easy life. Wish for the courage to overcome a hard one. Story 27. Firstly, I want to pay off my student loan debt. Secondly, I plan to buy a new car, but nothing extravagant, as I was involved in a serious accident 4 months ago. The remaining funds will be allocated for investments. Story 28. I will do whatever I want. I wouldn't tell anyone anyway. The hands will come out faster than Muhammad Ali. Story 29. Pay off my debts. Contact a qualified financial advisor to invest securely. Retire immediately. I already work from home doing things that few people are aware of. Others might assume I'm in a position to retire, as many probably believe I already am. I work independently for several reputable companies. They wouldn't question my decision to retire. I already travel frequently and enjoy a good lifestyle. I would simply continue with more free time and fewer worries. Please give me $10 million. I promise to keep it confidential. Can I at least inform my wife? Story 30. Use $1 million to learn how to make good investments with the other 9. Then do what I like. Enjoy life. And try to share positive vibes with the people around me. Story 31. Put it in a trust in someone else's name, pay off debt, apply for a business loan, and open a business with an anonymous angel investor. Story 32. Call a financial planner and say you inherited $5 million and want to meet to discuss investments. Book the meeting and put $9,900,000 in a short-term guaranteed investment certificate. Go on vacation and think about investment advice until the $100,000 runs out. Story 33. You mean like a pile of cash or in my account? If it's in my account, someone already knows. If it has magically appeared in my bedroom, I will need a bigger mattress. Story 34. If no one can know, does that mean $10 million in cash was anonymously dropped from a plane onto my front porch in the middle of the night? Or did it appear in my account randomly? Because if it appeared there randomly, I would want to verify with my bank, or else they might charge me for spending money that didn't belong to me. But then I would lose. If it's just 100,000 individual $100 bills that showed up mysteriously, I would slowly start entering that into stocks and other accounts to avoid drawing suspicion. What I would do first after all this is confirmed is quit my job. Story 35. I will try to find large safes to store cash at home and begin paying in cash whenever possible. Then, I will likely extend my legal finances to purchase cash-based businesses where I can gradually launder some of that money over time. Story 36. Investing 9.5 with modest yearly payouts, most of the funds will be reinvested. Aim for an easy level 2 work-from-home IT support job that pays my bills until I am 40 and married. Use the $500,000 to purchase a modest home with a yard and a reliable new car. Story 37. If absolutely no one can know, I go about my normal day. I get slightly better quality clothing, food, and drink. I upgrade everything a little. No one looks closely enough to notice my changes. A better cut of meat wouldn't attract attention. A slightly nicer pair of boots would probably go unnoticed. My older car gets detailed and no one would question it. The same goes for my graphics card or additional games on my computer. Absolutely no one would catch it. If someone did notice, I could simply say it was a one-time occurrence. No one is going to track each purchase. Story 38. I might end up in a psychiatric ward for telling my husband to quit his job so we can travel the world. Story 39. Get a lawyer. Set up a couple of trust funds. Invest most of it in European and Japanese stock markets. Ensure that I have enough income from the above to live comfortably for the rest of my life. Story 40. Buy a house while the market is down, upgrade the computer, and then invest. I will still have 9 million left if I make smart decisions regarding housing. Story 41. Cry out of happiness that I can gradually change my life now and be free. I will work as if everything is normal for a while, then reduce hours when needed. I don't need a rapid change, a house, or a car, but knowing I am free and have no financial worries anymore brings me joy. Story 42. What if no one can know means that no matter who you tell or even show, they don't believe you? Feels like a curse, as if once people know, it will be taken away. Story 43. No one can know, not even the employees of the bank you would deposit it with. Well, that's kind of inconvenient. Story 44. I think the stress of hiding it from my loved ones would outweigh any benefit I would gain from having it. I am seriously considering donating everything to charity if these are the rules. Story 45. I'm in sales, so I could easily explain this situation, but it would just take a few years. I'm not at the annual income of $500,000 yet, but it's a reality for many. I would stay at my current job for a while since I just started, and I would treat myself to better clothes and possibly invest in Bitcoin. First, I would share that I landed a huge sale with those close to me. I would then use some of that money to give to my dad. I would mention that I secured several major clients to people outside of work, and once I built that story enough, I would resign for the next phase. Next, I would update my LinkedIn profile to state that I work at a stealth startup as a director. Over the course of an intensely successful 3 to 4 years, I could potentially earn $10 million in salary and commissions. This way, people would think I earned it rather than simply waking up with it, assuming this hypothetical scenario involves people not knowing I acquired it effortlessly. Story 46. Go to work. Then go on vacation for a week. Shop for a house. Buy the house. Move into the house. Pay off bills. Find another, better job. Work at that job. Invest in some opportunities. Keep moving forward. Story 47. Invest it, set aside a few million for my future restaurant, buy a new bike and possibly a car along with riding gear, and finally be free of financial problems. Story 48. I would put it in an interest-earning retirement account from which I take monthly payments. I would buy Bitcoin and establish a secure trust for my family. Story 49. Quit my job, buy some land and a cabin near the Great Smoky Mountains, and then enjoy pure, blissful freedom. Story 50. Invest most of the amount to live off interest payments. I will use the rest to buy a house, donate to charity, and book a nice trip to Iceland for my parents and myself with first-class flight tickets. Story 51. $9 million in $1,000 stacks and hire pickpockets to give random people a stack in their backpack, purse, or coat pocket. Go into random stores and drop it in people's shopping carts. Keep $1 million for myself and hide it in the house. Story 52. I have $10 million in cash on my bed. I'm probably panicking about ending up in jail because of this. I might need to set up a fake business to launder the money, sell my house, and buy a shop to live in. I would likely pay people to make it look busy while only accepting cash payments. Story 53. Even my banker? Or is it automatically deposited into my high-yield savings account? So fine, I'm done. I'm not doing anything for at least a couple of months. Story 54. Nobody knows how much money you have unless you are showing off. I would just continue as normal. Story 55. Do the weekly grocery shopping, feed the cats, fill the gas tank, and possibly buy a secondhand car. Live the rest of my life without worrying about how much anything costs or about covering bills. Story 56. Can they ever know? Would it be a secret for life? What happens if they find out? Do you lose the money? Story 57. No one will know until you start appearing with brand name clothing, luxury watches, and a new sports car. Story 58. Step 1. Stop all communication and go off the grid. No one will ever know the other steps or see or hear from me again. Story 59. Not much differently then. I continue to struggle with money, but secretly knowing that there's no struggle will be sweet. I'm working on a cabin in the woods. It would be nice to have some extra funding to move that project along more quickly. I'm not building a mansion, but the process is going slow. I have to save up to buy 5 sheets of plywood at a time, so being able to buy 10 sheets of plywood would be a joy. Story 60. I will continue working to accumulate my vacation days and travel to places the owner of my company cannot even afford. Story 61. Invest $5 million in a sports franchise and $3 million in several fast food restaurants and gas stations, then relax as the income generates. I also plan to pay my parents back because I was expensive and had a lot of challenges. Story 62. Not much. I would invest it to provide growth and income in the long term. I would continue my life as usual, except I would buy a 911 Turbo S. Story 63. I honestly wouldn't change much. I go to work like normal. My job is already at risk since I'm an employee of the Department of Education, so it would take the pressure off. I'd open a couple of high-yield savings accounts and exchange-traded funds and relax. Even a small percentage of returns would be significant. Other than that, I'd wait a little bit and then put a down payment on a place and just tell anyone who asks that I've been saving. Story 64. No one can know anything at all, or can anyone know that it was $10 million? I guess if no one is allowed to know I received anything, it would require making extremely slow changes to my lifestyle. If they are allowed to know that I received, say, $1 million, then I could split it up and buy exchange-traded funds or government bonds via 20 different brokers so that none of them know the total. I guess in either case, a good lawyer is going to be useful. Luckily, they gave up their humanity, so I will claim an exemption. In the long term, I think starting my own business would be a good idea. It offers more flexibility with work hours while also providing a more believable explanation for funding lifestyle improvements. The company accountant doesn't need to know the specifics of my personal finances, and my friends and family don't need to know how much of my income comes from my business and how much comes from dividends on my portfolio. While driving home, I realized that this question and my answer are basically about money laundering. Everyone assumes the $10 million is from a lottery win, but it wouldn't be any different if that money were stolen or from illegal dealings. Story 65. Set up multiple accounts and move the money around. It doesn't need to all be held in a single account, as that appears suspicious. Consider brokerage accounts, trusts, investments in cryptocurrency, and hard assets such as silver or gold, index funds, dividend stocks, bonds, and angel investments. Once the funds are distributed and some are earning passive income while another portion is allocated to physical assets, you will have much less to manage. Next, I will pay off bills and debts and begin acquiring real estate, starting with rental properties in stable markets for passive income. Gradually, I will increase my lifestyle by taking more vacations and upgrading vehicles, furniture, and housing. I plan to set up a private trust for my son. At some point in the future, I will need to engage in estate planning, but the initial $10 million should be diversified enough across various avenues to avoid raising questions. The key is to create sustainable passive income. If everything is bought outright and there are no debts, then an income of $300,000 to $500,000 a year should be more than sufficient to keep me under the radar. Story 66. Take some time off work to address my finances. I will work with a professional to help manage these funds. This feels like taking on a second job, as it is unlikely I could earn that much from my current role. I will continue to work, but my motivation to advance will quickly diminish. Story 67. If nobody I know can know, I'd invest the money and rely on what the bank pays in interest. The last thing I heard is that you can easily earn 4,000 to 6,000 per month from it, and you could say that it's from one of those TV promotions promising, text now for €4 and get 5,000 per month directly deposited into your account for the next few years. After some years, nobody questions your 60,000 per year anymore, and if necessary, you could pay every bill you receive. Story 68. Keep $500,000 liquid up front and invest the rest. Live off the interest and leave my job only after everything is set up correctly. Story 69. Divide them into more banks. Invest half. Make donations. Save $1 million as retirement. Then, I don't know, maybe start an adventure, assuming I have a couple of competent people to travel the world with. Or I could acquire a company and try to improve the quality of life for the workers without earning a larger salary than them, maybe even a smaller one since I would already have enough money. Perhaps I could adopt some children who have escaped from war and persecution, but then I would need to think of ways to improve my finances to provide for them when I am gone. I don't know, really. Story 70. Buy Tesla at the current low and wait until it reaches $10,000 per share within the next 5 years, turning my $10 million into $400 million. This is not financial advice, but let me know once you've reached $400 million, and I will share my bank account for your gratuity. Story 71. Set up several anonymous trust funds in the names of MFAR, Broadway Cares Equity Fights AIDS, B. Arthur Residence, and the Ali Forney Center Equally, National Public Radio and Public Broadcasting Service. Story 72. No one? Like I can't go to an accountant and a lawyer? Those would be my first trips. Outside of that, I would go buy a new mattress. That would be my first purchase. There are many things I would consider to improve my quality of life, but some of those things would take time. I could walk into a store and choose a mattress to start using that night, which could improve my life immediately. Story 73. Go to work. If no one knows, I will ignore it for a few days and then figure out an exit strategy over the weekend. Story 74. It's easy to find bonds that return 5% annually, which amounts to $500,000 a year. I can comfortably live on that. That is what I am doing. I won't be extremely wealthy or purchasing things that would raise suspicion. Essentially, I will live my life as usual. Story 75. I would act poor, just like now, but secretly help everyone I could without anyone knowing where it came from. Story 76. Buy numerous properties in Dubai and Monaco. Purchase several supercars and start my private jet business. Also, obtain my pilot's license. Get married. Story 77. Pretend to be depressed or more depressed if you already are. Start performing poorly at your job and become moody at work. Continue until you get fired. No one will suspect anything other than that you are going through a rough patch. Go on a fake job hunt and find a fake remote job that pays really well. Do not disclose how much, just say a lot. Buy a very expensive computer for the job. Pretend to work from home and spend the money in ways that are not suspicious. Congratulations, you are like every developer who works remotely now, except you are jobless. You pay for moderately expensive things over time. You quietly become wealthy over time, even though you have been all along. Invest a large sum of the money and prepare for an early retirement because your high-paying job got you there. Story 78. I get dressed and pretend to go to work. I could endure 8-hour days for a long time with $10 million. My wife would forgive me when I passed away and she discovered it. Story 79. Investments and living off dividends would be the plan. I wouldn't tell anyone, but there would be signs. Story 80. I quit my job to pursue my long-lasting dream of becoming a freelance consultant. I have an office where I go to work, but in reality, it is just a nice library with a full kitchen and a TV room where I can spend my day. I might also consider doing some pro bono work, pretending to get paid for it. Mostly, I would spend my time with my dog every day. Story 81. Buy a house and a new car. These are things I'm planning to do anyway, but I won't tell anyone that I paid cash. I will keep working for now, but I will try to reduce my hours to 32 or 26 hours per week and set up the rest to live off dividends. Once I'm comfortable with the dividend income, I will quit my job and work on something I want to do. Story 82. Start cashing my checks instead of using direct deposit. Buy everything with cash. Pay all bills with cash, money orders, certified checks, or prepaid cards. Make cash deposits to my investment bank that do not exceed my income minus bills and a reasonable amount for groceries and clothing. On paper, it would look like I lived a very frugal life to prioritize investment. Story 83. Nobody likes friends, family, and coworkers, or nobody likes lawyers, investment companies, or estate planning. If the former, I would get the money invested quickly and start living off the interest. If it's enough to cover all my bills, I would quit my job and tell everyone I switched to remote work. If it's the latter, I would stash the money in a storage locker, quit my job, and tell everyone I'm working remotely, then deposit $6,000 to $7,000 regularly every 2 weeks. Once a month, I may add a $2,000 to $3,000 kicker that would start going into savings. Once I had enough money saved to cover the next year's worth of bills, I would start diverting money into investments, such as real estate investment trusts and S&P 500 linked investment funds. Then it's just a matter of waiting until the investments reach the $1 million range. Story 84. Going to be hard keeping this from my spouse. Open new brokerage accounts at 10 different brokerages with sole ownership. Deposit $1 million in each account. Buy SGOV in each account. Set them all to reinvest dividends and designate beneficiaries. Select one account to withdraw $10,000 per month into our joint checking account. Choose a different account to withdraw $10,000 per month into joint savings. Schedule an appointment with a lawyer and my spouse to update the trust and wills for existing accounts. Make a separate appointment with another lawyer to establish a trust and wills for the new $1 million accounts. Continue on. Story 85. Pay all debts, invest, and live on dividends. If anyone asks, I bought some cryptocurrency a decade ago, sold it, and now we are retired. Story 86. I will pay off my car and debts, and immediately start the process of buying a home. Next, I would set aside money for my mother and sister. I would buy my partner a car, go on vacation, and invest as much as possible. Story 87. Visit Thailand and enjoy the local entertainment and activities. Story 88. Calculate the annual income from the S&P 500 with dividends. Determine if a part-time job is necessary, and then consider traveling for a while. Story 89. Go to work and buy a good meal and a few energy drinks. You cannot put a price on not being tired for once. Story 90. I have several accordions that need repair. 10 million could fix all of them and leave enough money for me to buy an extra-large pizza on the way home. Story 91. Invest 7 million in a ladder municipal bond system and live off the interest. Use the remaining 3 million scattered across multiple brokerage services. Invested in exchange-traded funds of U.S., international, and emerging markets. Then spend the rest of my life utilizing special lending bonds and leveraging my money into commercial real estate and startups. After all that, I may be able to afford eggs again. Story 92. Go to work, stay quiet, and do some interesting things. I enjoy my job and work in the public sector. I would donate to meaningful causes to support my interests. Otherwise, just set up a modest little place with enough savings to live on. Story 93. High-yield savings accounts, certificates of deposit, and annuities are the best options for collecting monthly interest. I plan to change very little. I will fix up my house, including a new roof, new solar panels, and finishing the basement. Things that are expensive but not noticeable. Oh, that erosion is getting fixed. Guess who's getting an endless hot water heater? This gal. Honestly, this is what I would do if there were no rules. I also want a new stove with a griddle top, 2 doors, and a built-in air fryer. I'm buying meat this month. Story 94. Invest and live as if I still don't have enough money for a few months, while gradually improving my life. Story 95. Pay off all debt and invest the remainder. Live off interest and gradually quit your job. Engage in more hobbies and pretend they cover the expenses. Story 96. Pay off the $1 million in debt we have, thanks to student loans and the mortgage. Put some money away for my child's college fund, then live my life mostly like normal with about $8 million in savings. Story 97. Pay the mortgage, bring my boyfriend here, and tell him that he lives with me now. I will also probably invest most of the remaining money. Story 98. Work on getting fired to claim unemployment. Rinse and repeat. Everyone will assume I am worthless as they currently do. But I would be the person in the neighborhood distributing items and enjoying beverages as if it were my job, just relaxing on a step. Story 99. I do nothing as the rules state no one can know. As far as everyone is concerned, it has already happened. Story 100. Hire someone to manage my yard and replace all my windows. Get a cleaner, then a painter, and make various upgrades to my home before investing the rest. It wouldn't seem unusual as my husband passed away last year, so it could be for life insurance. Story 101. On that day, the sky would be so blue, the trees and grass so green, and the air so crisp. Every smile would be genuine, and every song would play for me. Just the thought of it fills me with joy. Story 102.1. Pay taxes. Set up a trust of approximately 1.5 million to make monthly interest income payments to my wife and daughter, to be split between them on my daughter's 18th birthday. Convince both that I am now a freelance private security investigator and make a good living. Tell my family I am not allowed to talk about work and that their attempts to look into it will only jeopardize my position. Also, inform my wife that the interest income payments are a benefit from my company. Enjoy life and distance myself from anyone who asks too many questions about my finances. Story 103. Invest it and live off the interest, but look for a part-time remote job, maybe in consulting. That way, I have a clear answer if someone asks what I do for a living, and I can speak about it intelligently. It also provides plausible reasons for how I can afford to live without a typical job. I don't have to work 40 hours a week, so I can do what I want, and if I lose my job, it won't matter. I plan to retire around age 45 or 50 due to the smart investments I have been making all along. Story 104. Shove the money under the bed before my husband sees it. Otherwise, he will know. Then figure out how we can live off the windfall without him knowing where it comes from. That's going to be tricky. Story 105. Make coffee. Go to work. I still have obligations to fulfill before doing anything else. Story 106. Move to the Midwest and buy a county. Build a compound and grow lavender and cannabis. Create a following in the arts community and invite interesting people to engage in artistic activities. Learn a musical instrument and a new language, and spend the rest of my life learning to deeply understand reality. Story 107. Buy land. Plant a forest that boosts native biodiversity. Build a forest school for local children struggling in mainstream education. Essentially, I would try to take that money and give as much back to the world in a way that benefits everyone. Story 108. I would invest in the Vanguard Life Strategy Moderate Growth Fund, which consists of 60% stocks and 40% bonds, and it is expected to generate $500,000 per year reliably. Story 109. So I assume when you say no one can know, you mean even my family. I have one account my partner would never check, so hopefully it went in there. Otherwise, we would lose our joint account. I would then purchase a new vehicle, get it custom painted, and make it look like a commercial vehicle for some company, probably Google. I would quit my job and tell my partner I got a new job at that company. I would need to go train for it out of town. Next, I would purchase a home near the city and set up my ideal video game space. I would invest everything else, and between the returns on investment and a high-yield savings account, I would use that to direct deposit into our joint account. I would receive larger paychecks than I do now, but not so much that they would think I suddenly have $10 million. I would work 5 days a week at my video game setup. My family would be none the wiser. We could take vacations pretty much whenever, and I could just tell them I'm using my paid time off, vacation, or sick days. They would never keep track. Story 110. Honestly, I grab a coffee, come home, get myself ready for the day, and then plan and react. Having obsessive-compulsive disorder is challenging, and I can't start my day off on the wrong foot. Story 111. I have $10 million, and no one can know. This sounds like tax evasion. Is this the plan after firing all the tax agents? Trick people on Reddit into explaining how they would avoid taxes. Story 112. Crazy, because I was just thinking about what I would donate $1 million to if I ever struck it rich. I decided on an orphanage. Story 113. Pay off student debt. Attend the job for a few more months but do the bare minimum, then inform them I am moving to another state without the intention of doing so. Maintain my lifestyle, with the exception of hiring tradespeople to make some repairs in my house. Inform neighbors that I secured a great work-from-home job. Since I can't tell anyone, I really don't know how to file my taxes, so I feel like an accountant will eventually need to know. If someone mentions, "Hey, you earned $200,000 in bank interest this year. What's the situation?" I would have to learn to file my own taxes. Story 114. Put $5 million in an investment account controlled by a trust, then pay off my house, rent a building, quit my job, and make the rental a fun house where I work. Story 115. Since I am not allowed to tell anyone, I would take care of people I revere anonymously. I would embrace the most intense physical therapy I can find to hopefully help re-enable my life. I would buy a reliable, unassuming car to travel to open mic events all over the nation, working on my stand-up. It does not matter if I ever succeed because I am living off of interest that keeps me far ahead of where I am now, which is to say disabled and penniless. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.